Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video on the Gooners and Gloves Podcast channel. In today's video, it's going to be the 22nd Gooners and Gloves Podcast, and I'm going to be going over my thoughts and reactions to Arsenal's game versus Chelsea in the Premier League. This took place yesterday and was a 1-1 draw, so I'm just going to offer some insight on how I felt the game went, what I thought of Arsenal's performance, give an overview of how some of the players did, how I feel about our Premier League hopes going into the future, and just how I feel ahead of the international break. Of course, we are now officially in the international break. Arsenal won't be playing again for 2 weeks, and we've got Nottingham Forest at home upon our return. So yeah, I'm just going to go over kind of the performance, how I felt the game went, etc, etc. So let's just get straight into it. So firstly, let's go over the results. Of course, as I said, this was a 1-1 draw. This was a game which, and it's not really a result that I think either team are going to be happy with. Both teams wanted to win this game, but I definitely felt that for Arsenal this was a must win, and unfortunately we did not go on to win. It was a 1-1 draw, and unfortunately now we sit 9 points behind Liverpool. We sit, I think, 5 points behind Manchester City, and those are, that's huge. That's very big. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. For this point in the season to be 9 points behind, this does make our ambitions a lot tougher. There's no question about it. Of course, mathematically speaking, it's not impossible for us to win the Premier League, but there's no denying it. The chances are a lot slimmer than they were, and this is a game that we really did need to win to close that gap down, make it smaller. But now with the draw, we are 9 points behind. It's a game that Chelsea also, of course, would have wanted to win, because that would have put them, they're still above us on goal difference, but this would have put them, I think this would have put them 3 points ahead of us. I would have also put them within touching distance of Manchester City, but as it stands on points, Arsenal and Chelsea are the same. However, on goal difference, Chelsea is above us. So that's kind of how the result was, a 1-1. As I said, not a result that really either team are going to be happy with. But now let's get into the game a bit, kind of go over how the whole game went. So as expected, this was a highly emotional game. Loads of fouls, loads of passion, loads of football, loads of chances on both ends. It's what we expected. It was a very, very passionate, very heated, and very high chance game. It's exactly what, everybody expected it to be. Of course, Arsenal-Chelsea, there's a huge rivalry there, so they're always going to be great games. But when you factor in all of the context about being at the same point in the table, Chelsea needing to prove themselves against the top 6 side, Arsenal needing to win to keep the title race alive, it was always going to be a very electric game. So in terms of how it started, as expected, it caught fire straight away. Chelsea had a really good early chance where Cole Palmer struck it at Raya, and Raya made a brilliant save, but it was a good start for Chelsea. Arsenal had a couple of chances on their end, but it was just a very, very fast-paced start, which is pretty much exactly what we expected. Of course, these are two young, athletic teams, and both of them have players that do loads of runs and that have great skills and stuff. Both teams have that, and of course, they both got very, they've both got squads that are packed with great players. So as expected, it was a very, very electric game, very fast paced, definitely faster paced than what you're used to in the Premier League. Just literally just run after run after run. There were loads of fouls as well. The players were pretty much just fouling each other all over the pitch, pretty much on both sides. Both Arsenal and Chelsea players were essentially just fouling each other just loads because, as I said, very passionate. So the first half did end goalless, although Kai Havertz did open the scoring, and man, it was so annoying that the goal was offside. He opened the scoring, he even shushed the Chelsea fans, and of course all us Arsenal fans were just loving it, but unfortunately the goal was ruled out, and fairly so. It was offside, there's no denying it was offside, so it was the correct call by the referee. But man, what a cool moment that would have been, Kai Havertz scoring and then shushing the Chelsea fans, but it wasn't to be. It was disallowed. So that ended the first half goalless. Malo Gusto had a really big chance. It was crossed to him by Pedro Neto, and Malo Gusto had essentially an open goal, but he didn't go on to hit it. Martinelli also was able to stop him from getting to it, so that was a huge chance by Malo Gusto. Arsenal had a couple of chances as well, and as I already mentioned, they had a disallowed goal, but it was just a very, very entertaining first half. It did end goalless. It was 0-0 at half time, but it was a highly entertaining half. Loads of chances on both ends, loads of electric football, loads of athleticism and just running fast. Essentially, it's that sort of game where 1 second, the ball's at one end of the pitch, and literally within 5 seconds, the ball is on the other end. It was that kind of game, just super fast paced, super electric, and the type of game that I'm sure the neutrals absolutely loved. This is the sort of game that I'm sure the neutrals really enjoyed, because as I said, with the Premier League, I feel like the pace tends to be a bit slow and a bit more methodical and not really as entertaining, but this is one of those games where that just went out the window, and this was just fast paced the entire time. Literally throughout this entire first half, the ball would be at one end, and then all of a sudden it'd be straight at the other end, and literally you'd get a shot on target, and then a minute later there's a shot on target on the other end, and it was that kind of game which you really just had to watch to be able to keep up with, because it was that fast paced, it was that aggressive. But yeah, a thoroughly entertaining first half, even though it ended 0-0. As I said, the amount of fouls there were, I mean, as I said, there were a lot of players were fouling. I'm not going to go into specific names about like who was fouling who, whatever. I don't really want to do that, but just know there were loads of fouls, loads of yellow cards, and yeah. And again, this is on both ends. I'm not going to say it was just Chelsea. Chelsea were definitely fouling quite a bit, but Arsenal was certainly fouling themselves. So both teams were just very heated in this game, and the discipline wasn't perhaps quite there. But yeah, so the first half ended goalless. A huge chance by Malo Gusto, an unfortunate disallowed goal by Kai Havertz. And those were kind of the main highlights of the first half. Palmer, as I said, had a really good shot on goal. And yeah, so that's how the first half ended. Those were kind of the key main moments. Palmer's shot, Malo Gusto's missed chance, and then of course, and also Sanchez made a huge save as well. Near the end of the half, I think Martinelli struck one at Sanchez, and Sanchez made an incredible save. So there were definitely some moments in the first half, but as I said, the main ones were essentially Cole Palmer's shot, Malo Gusto's missed chance, Kai Havertz's disallowed goal, and Gabriel Martinelli's great effort, which was saved by Robert Sanchez. So a very equal first half, a very entertaining first half, and we move on to the second. So the second kind of started in the same sort of way, again, just very fast-paced. Chelsea had the ball, and then Arsenal would have the ball, and it was just a very back-and-forth battle. And it was essentially just a continuation of the first half. It was as if nothing had changed. Like, it was essentially just a huge possession battle, back and forth, really fast-paced, really huge runs by both teams, threatening chances by both. But of course, we then get to the point where Arsenal opened the scoring, and my God, is it so good to see Martin Odegaard back on the pitch. Welcome back to the captain. Absolutely amazing to see him back. And honestly, I really felt the difference. Like, I felt that the team was so much better attacking wise in this game than they have been against, than they were against Newcastle, against Inter Milan, etc. And Martin Odegaard's definitely a big reason for that. I thought he played really well. It was surprising to see him get a full 90. I don't think many people expected that, but of course I was absolutely delighted with it. And of course he did return in this game. He delivered a brilliant ball to Gabriel Martinelli. Really, really nice ball by Martin Odegaard, which Gabriel Martinelli finished at Robert Sanchez's left post, like quite close to the post. So I was really, really pleased with that goal. Excellent ball by Martin Odegaard, and it's great to see him, on his first game, but essentially his first game back. He only got 5 minutes against Inter Milan, so that doesn't really count. But on his actual proper main first game back, he got the assist, and I'm really, really delighted to see Martin Odegaard back. I really felt his impact. I felt like the team was so much more attacking and just so much more confident, and it makes sense. When you've got your captain back, I feel like it just instantly lifts the mood and instantly makes you attack better. So delighted with Martin Odegaard. Gabriel Martinelli, who I was happy to see get a goal because he has been in a bit of a rough patch of form, and if I'm honest, aside from the goal, even in this game he wasn't particularly great, but it was nice to see him get back on the score sheet again. It was really cool to see. Of course, all the Arsenal players ran, celebrated, and it was really cool. And of course, we opened the scoring at Stamford Bridge. 20 more minutes is what we needed to survive. But of course, as we know, it did not go down that way. Literally 5 minutes later, we concede, and it was an absolutely fantastic strike by Pedro Neto, who I must say, in my opinion, has been one of Chelsea's best players this season. Like, he has been incredible. Attacking-wise, I'd probably say he's Chelsea's best player right now, and in my opinion, if you're Enzo Maresca, you're playing Pedro Neto all the time, because that man is fantastic. And if any Chelsea any Chelsea fans are watching this, you guys have an absolute gem with Pedro Neto on your hands. This man is brilliant, okay? Even before this game, he'd really been impressing me, Pedro Neto, genuinely. Even before this game, he'd really been impressing me in the league, and this game just confirms it. Like, aside from the goal he scored, which we'll get to in a second, he was just really good. He was really threatening. As I said, he delivered that really nice ball to Malo Gusto, which, Malo Gusto did not finish. So that was a really good effort by Pedro Neto. But his runs in this game, his pace, his battles with the defenders, I definitely felt that Pedro Neto caused us some problems today. And of course, that goal was what caused it. So in terms of the goal, so Enzo Fernandez came on, and then literally about 2 minutes after coming on, he assists Pedro Neto, delivers the ball to Pedro Neto off a throw-in, and then Pedro Neto just absolutely rifles it in. Raya had absolutely no chance, and it was a fantastic goal. I can't really deny it. It was an excellent finish. Genuinely really, really nice goal by Pedro Neto into that bottom right corner. Raya, there was no way he was saving that. Gabriel very nearly blocked it. Like, he was so close to blocking it, but unfortunately it just got past him and it squeezed into that bottom right. But fair play to Pedro Neto, an absolute rifle of a strike, and of course, he ran and celebrated, and yeah, fair play to Pedro Neto. It sucks, of course, don't get me wrong. Like, it sucks, but as I said, I do try to be fair, and that was an excellent goal, and I can't deny it. So fair play to Pedro Neto. And as I said, if you are a Chelsea fan watching this, Pedro Neto is definitely an absolute gem, and in my personal opinion, he should definitely be starting most games because he is quality. Genuinely, he's someone who before this game had impressed me, but in this game was really, really good. So of course, that was really devastating. Only 5 minutes after scoring to immediately concede, and especially such a goal, and you felt the atmosphere change at Stamford Bridge. And then from there, it was pretty much just a free-for-all from that point onwards. Like, tactics at that point pretty much for both teams kind of just went out the window. They basically just aggressively running at each other. Nobody was nobody was overly defensive. Nobody was parking the bus. This was just attack, attack, attack by both teams. And of course, Arsenal had some really good opportunities. There was one chance with There was one chance which Leandro Trossard missed. Now, it was offside in the end, but essentially he had not necessarily an open net, but a really good opportunity with the ball right at his feet, and he absolutely blasts it over the crossbar. Now, it was offside, so, it's not something he had to regret too much, but that was annoying. However, of course, the big moment was the ending. Now, some people are saying that Saliba was offside. We didn't really get a proper VAR check, so it's a bit hard to determine because we needed a better VAR check. But it was right there. Martinelli plays the ball across, and it's on its way to Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz, literally last seconds of the game at his old stomping ground, at Stamford Bridge. Kai Havertz, his old club, his old stadium, the Stamford Bridge, and of course with all the fans booing him and everything, and with the moment he'd had earlier in the game, of course shushing the fans and then having the goal disallowed, his head also being split open. This was the moment right here where he would put it in the back of the net, and every Arsenal fan would just go insane because Kai Havertz has just scored against his former club at his former stadium in the dying seconds of the game to break Chelsea hearts, but it did not turn out that way. Leandro Trossard went for the ball, thought that maybe he could get it in himself, but unfortunately deviated it on its way out, and it was just devastating. The players' heads were in their hands. Kai Havertz was fuming. Mikel Arteta literally collapsed to the ground, and that was it for the game, and it ended 1-1, but my word, what a moment. As I said, it's possible that Saliba may have been offside. As I said, they didn't really do a VAR check, and they didn't show too many replays, so it's hard to determine if Saliba was truly offside or not, but either way, what an unreal moment that would have been. I mean, just imagine, that's the kind of moment you just dream about, Kai Havertz against his former club at his former stadium in the dying seconds of the game to break Chelsea hearts and for Arsenal to win, and but it did not turn out that way. But fair play to Chelsea. They've improved so much since last season, there's no denying it. Like, fair play to them, they really have improved a lot, and they proved it. However, that being said, last season it was also a draw at Stamford Bridge, and then of course we did go on to win 5-0 at the Emirates. Now, of course, we'll see if that happens. I don't know. Of course, I'd love if it happened. It'd be nice. But yeah, this is exactly what happened last season at Stamford Bridge. That was a 2-2 thriller as well. This one was a 1-1. But that's going to pretty much do it for the game analysis. So a very entertaining, a very, very, enthralling game. Of course, a very unfortunate result given our title race, and I will get into that in a second, but a highly entertaining, highly enthralling, very dramatic, and ultimately just very emotional game. This was definitely one of the most aggressive, emotional games of football that I've watched. And again, there was just so much on the line for both teams, and it was a crazy atmosphere. But yeah, it ends 1-1. Definitely positives to be taken, no doubt about it. I think there's definitely positives to be taken from our performance. As I said, the defense really wasn't too bad. That was just genuinely a very difficult strike to stop from Neto, but aside from that, I was really pleased with the defending. I think our defending is definitely improving. I was happy with Raya. He made some solid saves, and ultimately I just think there's definitely positives to be taken. Our attack looked so much better. I thought our attack looked much, much better. And of course, having the captain back, Martin Odegaard, is huge. However, of course, there were also a couple of issues. So first of all, as I mentioned, Kai Havertz did split his head open. Of course, this is from back in the Inter Milan game, where of course he sliced his head open, and unfortunately it did reopen in this game. So he did go on to finish the game with a bandage around his head, but we'll have to see. Hopefully that doesn't stop him from being in action, but I'd imagine that over the 2-week international break he'll be able to recover. And then of course both Bukayo Saka and Declan Rice came off the pitch. Bukayo Saka with a hamstring injury, and it does sound like he potentially might not be playing for England, so that could be a full 2 weeks rest for him, which is good news. And then you've got Declan Rice, who actually did head into this game with an injury, but as you know, it's a huge game, so he obviously really wanted to play. He did have a broken toe before this game, but was thankfully cleared to play, and I thought he had a decent game, but he also had to come off through that broken toe, probably flaring up, so we'll have to see. But it does sound like Saka and Rice might potentially not play for England. We'll have to see, but of course that would give them 2 weeks to recover, which would, of course, from an Arsenal perspective, would be good news. That's pretty much it when it comes to injuries, but yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for the analysis of this match. So very entertaining, but of course an unfortunate result given the circumstances. But yeah, fair play to Chelsea. It was an entertaining game. It would have been really nice if we could have won, but oh well. Pedro Neto made the difference. He scored a great goal, and that's how that's how it went. But in terms of what this means for our title charge, of course, as I said before, this now unfortunately puts us 9 points behind Liverpool and also 5 points behind Manchester City. So mathematically it's not impossible, but of course it is very, very tough. There's no denying it. And of course, the odds are stacked against us. But ultimately, until the end, I'll always believe, and until it does become mathematically impossible, I'll believe in the squad. We have a great fixture run coming up. We, of course, have had some absolutely insanely hard fixtures, and I understand that everyone plays the same fixtures. Don't get me wrong, I understand that, but I just mean, we've had so many hard consecutive fixtures. Of course, we've been down to 10 men in 3 games. We have had injuries, and again, this isn't excuse making. Like, I'm not trying to justify anything. I'm just giving some context behind maybe why we are where we are. But ultimately, 3 red cards, loads of injuries, loads of tough games. But now, thankfully, after the international break, we're fingers crossed, touch wood, on our way to having a pretty much fully fit squad, and we've got a pretty nice, good fixture run coming up. So hopefully we can turn things around. Ultimately, crazier things have definitely happened in football. It is tough, don't get me wrong, and it really, really sucks to be 9 points to be 9 points behind this early on, not to mention 5 points behind Manchester City. But as I said, crazier things have happened in football, and ultimately, if we can just start getting some wins, then we can definitely build a good run. So I'll always believe till the end. It is tough, absolutely, but I'll always believe until the end, and hopefully the squad now can have the international break, have that rest, maybe get a few minutes in their feet with the teams, come back rejuvenated, refocused, and hopefully we can really push on. We've got, as much as we have a good fixture on, there's still some tough fixtures in there. The Champions League, of course, doesn't get any easier, but pretty much that's going to do it. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. With Arsenal now being, of course, on the international break, I will be making reaction podcasts to England and Romania's games in the Nations League, so look out for those. But yeah, pretty much that's going to do it for today. So please let me know down below what you thought of the Arsenal-Chelsea game. If you're a Chelsea fan, please let me know what you thought of the game. How did you feel about Chelsea's performance? Do you agree with my take on Neto, or do you think that someone else was better than him, etc.? But yeah, please let me know. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys with another podcast soon. Bye-bye.